we really feel like we've been serving a lot of the hospitality industry over the last 8 years, and that part has sort of really kept that flame going, and knowing that we're serving a consistent and reputable product that people love and appreciate.
Today on Dirty Linen, we are going to celebrate the existence and somewhat lament the passing of Tuckshop Takeaway. But I think it's a good news story, really. Although I have to say that eating my last Tuckshop Takeaway minor burger, which is what the standard burger is called there, and triple fried chips or triple cooked chips a couple of weeks ago, it was an incredibly poignant, bittersweet, and as always, entirely delicious experience. After 9.5 years of trade, Clinton and Karina Serex closed their much-loved Caulfield, inner south of Melbourne, burger shop. And today we are going to talk all about it with Clinton. Clinton, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thanks for having me, Dani.
I love Tuckshop Takeaway. I love what you guys created there. And I'm also feel really happy for you that you've been able to close the business with, future plans and a lot of positivity.
Yeah, it was actually really nice to go out on a high and go out on our terms and be able to say goodbye to everyone and actually have them know that they're eating their last minor burger and their last handful of triple cooked chips from us.
Yeah, it's pretty special. The vision of my last burger is actually swimming in front of my eyes as I'm speaking to you. But for people who weren't lucky enough to go to Tuckshop or know much about it, just put us in the picture. What kind of business was it?
So after Karina and I both being in really high-end fine dining for probably about 15 years each, we opened our own little spot just in Caulfield that I discovered the location while I was working at Attica. We're living on the other side of the Caulfield racecourse, and I used to drive past every day and generally get the red light at the intersection where Tuckshop has been. And it was a rundown takeaway shop that was hardly ever open. The lights were never even on most of the time. And there was one day that went past and there was a full lease sign on the roof. I couldn't stop thinking about it during my whole shift. And on the way back, took a picture of the sign and rang the agent. And the next day, we were looking at the property, and the rest all fell into place. So Corinne and I just wanted to apply our same sort of standards to a little takeaway shop that had a dwelling upstairs. So when we opened, we had our 18-month-old Hendrix and our 4-year-old Sasha, who are now 9 and 13. And we lived upstairs above the shop for the first 2.5 years. And that was a godsend, being able to go up and be able to say goodnight to the kids and stuff like that, or holler up the stairs to Karina to come down and help us if there was that little moment of need. But essentially what we kept the menu really nice and simple. We just had a beef burger, veggie burger, 3 different jaffles, and cut triple chips. And then we made all our own soft drinks and our own milkshake bases. So essentially everything on the menu was house-made by us from scratch, except for the buns for the burgers.
Yeah, really amazing. And I think that commitment to quality and the handmade nature of the food really shone through. It's so interesting that you guys had these fine dining backgrounds and you wanted to parlay those skills and that approach into a burger shop. But tell us a little bit more about what you and Karina had done before.
So directly before opening here, I was on the floor at Attica for 2 years. Before that, I was Voudemont for a year. Both Karina and I worked for Heston in the UK as well. Karina was a pastry chef at the Fat Duck when it was #1 restaurant in the world. I was there for 1.5 years. And I was at Heston's Gastro Pub also in Bray, just directly next door to the Fat Duck or the Hind's Head.
Yeah. I mean, incredible CVs.
Yeah. And throughout our travels, Karina had done stages at the French Laundry, Charlie Trotter's in Chicago, WD50, with time with Sam Mason at his short-lived tailor that was in New York, and then Karina then went back and did time with Sam Mason at Oddfellows Ice Cream, which has sort of led us to the direction that we've been going in the last couple of years. Yeah,
it's really amazing, Clinton. So, I mean, when you're working at Attica, you're on the floor there, and it's that extraordinary fine dining degustation experience. And I mean, what is it that makes you think, actually, let's do burgers?
It just kind of happened naturally. We were wanting to do our own thing, whether that was going to be a little dessert bar, or we were very close to opening a dessert restaurant on the Sunshine Coast. I've been on and off the Sunshine Coast for years. I did year 10, 11 and 12 in Noosa after my mum moved to Coolum. And I actually met Karina at my dad's restaurant in Canberra 21 years ago when I was working on the floor for my dad. Karina was my dad's third-year apprentice in the kitchen. And, so Karina's been dessert-focused for probably about 15 to 17 years. She was a fully qualified chef, but then turned her interest more to specialising in plated desserts and working her way up. So obviously, as we touched on, the Fat Duck and amazing stages and stuff throughout the world on our travels.
Yeah, amazing. I didn't know that you're from a restaurant family, that your dad had a restaurant as well.
Yeah, so born and bred, been in the industry, my whole life, from turning potatoes at the age of 7, standing on a milk crate in the kitchen, to doing radish roses and whatever other small jobs in the kitchen. Yeah.
Wow. And so was it always going to be hospitality for you?
I did try and get out, but the lure pulled me straight back in. Yeah.
And so can you just take us a little bit deeper into how you can apply the principles of fine dining to what you were doing at Tuckshop Takeaway?
Well, for us, we never went on about it too much, as far as I know you're familiar, very much so, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with our very simple menu board. It doesn't go on too much about the produce and stuff that we use and the techniques and stuff like that. But to us, it's completely a given that you're making stuff yourself. Like, you don't go out to have something that's a frozen product that's made by someone else just be reheated by someone and then sold to you as their own. Of course, it possibly does have a space for convenience and low cost and stuff like that for some people. But if you're going out to a restaurant, or you're going out, even for me, to a takeaway shop, you should be getting something that's made and produced by them. And people need to simplify a lot more. I know you'll go somewhere and they have 30, 40 menu items or stuff like that, and it's just purely not possible with the team and the resources that they have at their disposal to be making all of that themselves. But really, everyone should just simplify, keep it simple, and do what you do really well, and you'll have enough. You'll develop a following and a loyal customer base from that. It's that urge that people think that they need to not just do burgers, they need to do suvos, they need to have dim sims, they need to have potato cake, they have to have 3 different types of chips, that they have to have 15 different milkshakes and whatever it may be. But for us, what we brought to it was that everything was house made, including all the sauces. The meat was shake fresh every day, and the meat coming from one of Melbourne's premier butchers, being Gary's from the Prahran markets, which is the same butcher that Ben uses at Attica and a lot of the other high-end 3-hatted, 2-hatted restaurants. So, and we're using the same quality beef for our burgers. We sourced all our potatoes directly from a 5th-generation potato farmer just outside of Ballarat, known as the Spud Sisters. We've been using Kerry for about 8 years, and yeah, we hand cut every one of our chips. None of our chips ever saw a freezer, and they were done fresh every day.
Yeah, it's so amazing. What just flashed into my mind was, didn't you do 180 kilos of chips on the last day?
I did, yeah.
So how many bags that just seems like an extraordinary quantity of potatoes.
Obviously things definitely the freight train did get moving in the last 2 weeks especially. By all means, we weren't doing 180 kilos of chips every day for the last 8 years. We did do 160 kilos, or I did 160 kilos every day for the last 5 days, and 180 on the last day. And on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the last few people that got their burgers towards the end of the night, I didn't have any chips for them. And that was with 160 kilos, so it's starting completely fresh with no rollover into the following day. So we do cut them the evening before and leave them soaking or covered in water, which starts stripping some of the starches out. And then we start the cooking process the following morning. So to get through the 180 kilos, I was down at 5:30 in the morning. And the rest of the week I was down at 6 and finishing at about 1 a.m. So that's what it took to get through the final week. So it was, averaging about 20 hour days, 18 to 20 hour days, to get us across the finish line. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, how was that? It's just obviously so emotional to close a business and then to be working so incredibly hard. Did you have time for feelings?
No. To be honest, I was, completely and utterly numb and just going through the motions. Hospitality is that industry where there's those moments where you've just got to knuckle down and get it done. There's no point complaining about it or, feeling sorry for yourself or whatever. You've just got to, you go through the motions and you get it done. And as stupid as it sounds, majority of those days I was running on 4 espressos for the whole day. You're surrounded by food, but you don't even have a moment to take a bite yourself. Obviously, I was making sure that my staff were getting an adequate break and that they were having a burger and that they were sitting down and having half an hour to an hour to decompress and then come back and go again. But in those final 2 weeks especially, it was constant from 11 o'clock to 9 o'clock.
Let's talk about some of the challenges over the years that you ran Tuckshop. On your Instagram, you shared some of the some of the difficulties around, some of the feedback that you'd get, some of people misunderstanding the project to some extent. Tell us about some of the challenges.
So yeah, running your own business, especially of this size, has its challenges as well. So obviously I've been very, very hands-on throughout the 8.5, 9 years that we've been open, through wanting to be here and obviously wanting to maintain our quality and our consistency and stuff like that. And I do love that customer interaction, and we have so many amazing loyal and repeat customers, and that's what really kept us going, especially me going, was those interactions with those customers that you had every single Friday night. Like, there's a few that we had every Friday night pretty much for 8 years solid. To amazing regular customers that are coming a couple of times a week and driving from Bond Beach down sort of Frankston, past Frankston way. So they're doing a 40 minute trip each way to come a couple of times a week. So that's the stuff that really, and just so amazing in watching your local community grow around you. Like, what we can see from this corner, as far as it's a very busy intersection, but the school kids getting off the trams or off the school buses and stuff like that, and stopping and getting a bag of chips and a Nutella milkshake in the afternoon, and serving them the first time at the age of 13. The difference between a 13-year-old and a 22-year-old is a big difference, to then seeing them coming back with girlfriends or partners, or we've watched them go through all of high school, through uni, and then now off on their own paths. That's been a really rewarding part of it. Going into the challenges, so touching on where I was going, but I divert a little bit, was the size of our business. When you're a husband and wife team with, at the maximum, we had about 5 to 6 employees, 2 to 3 of them being full-timers, sort of in the early days, and a few casuals. You just don't have the coverage for it's always falls back on you. You don't have a roster of 20 people or 30 people or 40 people that you can you've constantly got coverage. So there were moments that we had to close the doors because we just didn't have enough staff to operate for that day. The having to be here, and as I said, when we opened, my son was 18 months old, who's now 9, almost 10. I missed out on a lot. We always said we'd be closed Sundays, and Sundays has always been our family day that we spend just the 4 of us together, generally eating out or always based around food. I don't have a hobby. I don't have the ability to go to a football game, to go and play golf, to go and do these normal activities. We have, over time as well, there's been a lot of negative comments and sort of trolling and stuff like that, which a lot of it was in the early days when we first opened. Karina, managing our social media, did cop the brunt of those, but obviously we would sit down and discuss them and talk about them, and bring us to tears a lot of nights. And just after you've put absolutely everything into it, you've just done a 10, 12, 14-hour day, and then you sit down at the end of the night and there's someone slagging you off on the internet, it really hurts.
So
What are they slagging you off for?
from things,
Like it's just like it's a burger shop. Like what? Like what?
as stupid things as well, rude service, being having sold out, and missing out. Like we got trolled constantly about the selling out and saying that we were celebrating or saying that another celebrating post saying that we'd sold out, where we were just using it as a means as communication. Obviously, Instagram's changed over the years too, where it used to be time based. It was a lot easier to share it then. Like if you'd sold out at 6:30 and someone went on, they would see it first, where it went in reverse order, that the latest post was at the top. With algorithms and stuff, it can get lost a lot more. But in the early days, it was an immediate way to share that information. But would get, what a burger's a finite resource. Why don't you just buy more product? Why don't you just make more? Why don't you go down to the shops and buy more meat? Because it's just like, we've run out, so let's just go down to Coles or Woolworths or whatever, and we'll just buy their mince off the shelf. And
But legit, like, why doesn't the person complaining go and buy the mince off the shelf?
Yeah.
Sorry to be laughing. I know it's just like, it's just so.
I know, but all you can do is laugh. Like, to being heckled and heckled and heckled over shredding our lettuce, and the position of the building order of the burger, that you might notice that a lot of other burger places around, they'll put the meat directly on the bottom bun, and then they will build the tomato and stuff on the crown, which is the top of the bun, and then they'll flip it onto the top. Where for us, we've always toasted our bun directly on the grill, which gives you a really nice crust, and it sort of seals off the bun. We'll then build the lettuce, the tomato, the onions, the pickles, and then our Tuckshop sauce. And then the patty will go on top of that with the cheese, and then we'll put egg and bacon on top, and then finish it with the crown and wrap it. For us, it gives you that buffer between the bottom bun, especially with the amount of our Tuckshop sauce that we put on. Like we're known as a juicy, well-sourced burger. Like you will often have the sauce dripping down your hands or onto your plate. It just gave you that protection, so you're not having a soggy bottom bun. But we got heckled over that. So
sorry, I just have to interrupt to say that I cannot stand you talking about the burger. It sounds so delicious. I know how delicious it was, and I can't have one. But also, like, obviously, like, there's so much care and thought that's gone into every aspect of it. It's just mind-boggling to me that someone would feel like feel so entitled that they would complain about the way you're running your own business, when, like, they can obviously go and get another burger somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Price as well. We got heckled over price for quite a while, where we're still, or up until we closed, we're cheaper than a lot of the supposed gourmet burger chains that are out there. Like our burger up until we closed was $12.50, and that's with the house-made sauce, 120 gram patty with 3 special cuts of meat done obviously by Gary's, as I touched on. Hand cut lettuce, hand cut tomatoes, everything done by us. Nothing was brought in, and we're only $12.50. But we copped abuse over being too expensive. For a while, we actually had it was free range bacon on the menu, because we're using the Otway bacon, which on the packet says is free range or bread free range. And we just got heckled and heckled and heckled saying your bacon's not actually free range, it's bread free range and stuff like that, to the point we just changed it to bacon. And that's the thing, when it's $1.50 or $2 to add bacon, we can't be using organic free range that's going to cost us more than $2 for the rush to put on. Then but then if we use full organic free range bacon and charged a surcharge of $5 to add it, then we've got more abuse. But then to the point, obviously we've all seen some of the stories after we announced the closure on Instagram 5 weeks out. Karina and I sort of sat down. We're like, each Sunday we might do a post just sharing some of the difficulties of running a small business, from the small margins to the long hours to staffing issues to equipment breakdowns to throwing stock out. Like if you come in and the PowerPoint's been knocked out, or a fridge has malfunctioned over the weekend and you come to a fridge that's sitting on 24 degrees and everything that's in it needs to get thrown out and you need to start again. So even only a couple of months ago, we came in and the freezer, in sweeping and mopping the PowerPoint to the chest freezer that holds all of Karina's ice cream, had been knocked out. And so for 2.5 days, the freezer was actually off, and we threw out, I think, 58 1-litre tubs of ice cream. And it hurts even more when it's not your monetary value of the product. That it's not just a matter of placing another order and tomorrow you've got another 58 tubs back in the freezer. That when you've made it completely from scratch yourself, it definitely hurts a lot more.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Because you started sharing these posts.
That's where I was going. We started sharing these posts, and then unfortunately got picked up by a couple of other news outlets in just putting together our closing and then us talking about the difficulties of running a business. And one of the first ones was the trolling and online reviews and stuff like that. It then got melded into news articles with ranging headlines of Melbourne institution closing due to abuse, constant abuse and stuff like that. So we went worldwide with articles even posted in Bahrain in the UK. I even had some Chinese friends saying that we're being shared through some of the Chinese news as well. I had family in Switzerland contact me seeing articles over there. But
how did that make you guys feel?
When you're already under the pump and you're already sort of in the process of we didn't, as much as we wanted to bring light to these issues, and in saying the news articles, but the amount of love that we received through social media, emails, text messages, voice messages on the Tuckshop phone and stuff from other business owners and stuff, just thanking us so much for speaking out and sharing it, and for them to know that they're not alone and that they have there are other people going through the same things. Felt very good. But obviously then Karina and I were stressing at one point there when these we became clickbait essentially, and we're like, well, we don't want our legacy or our people's memory to be that we're closing because of this trolling, when a lot of it was within the first 3 years. It definitely did die down, and then there would be dribs and drabs of stuff come through. But obviously we've got a lot thicker skin than that. But the sad thing was that we then started copying trolling and abuse, saying how weak we are for not being able to cop the abuse. And we then started getting, as stupid as it and horrible as it sounds, we then started copying trolling, saying that we need to toughen up. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, you already are getting out of the kitchen, so good. And yeah,
it's just super bizarre. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, it's so well put to say that you became clickbait, because I think for me, as a journalist, it was so disappointing to see your really intentional closing weeks misread and misrepresented in that way, where you were doing something that you thought hard about, and you also, something else that you thought hard about was shining a light on some of the difficulties that you and other small businesses face. And so to have, I think that, to have that twisted and to have your agency stripped away like that, it was really painful to watch. So I'm really sorry that, that you guys experienced that.
No, thank you. And thank you for your support, for trying to shed some light on the real reason of our closure, which is just that after the 9 years here and constant 25 years of hospitality, that I'm just feeling completely burnt out, that I can't do the 80, 90 hours a week that it demands of being in this style of size business as a business owner. My kids aren't getting any younger. My 9-year-old over the last year or so has been asking, Daddy, why do you have to work so much? Asking to go fishing and camping and stuff like that, stuff that you just can't do when you only have 1 day a week together. COVID changed things a lot for us, where we were lucky that being a takeaway shop, we were able to stay open throughout with a few little changes. Like we've had pretty much a trestle table across the front of the door for the past two and a bit years, or 2 years, or coming up to 2 years. Except for I think there was about 3 months last year where things were better, and we were able to do dining again, and I actually had some approval for tables and chairs out the side. So we had 4 trestle tables down the side, but that was ended up being a very short and window that we got to do that. Seeing other friends within the industry that were all of a sudden home a lot more, and they're like, oh, it's amazing having this time with the family and the kids and reconnecting. I was working so much that I was actually sleeping here 5 nights a week, just because there was no point to go home at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night to come back at 8 in the morning to see them for half an hour or so before them jumping on to homeschooling WebExes and so on, or when they were at school to help them pack their lunch boxes and stuff. So when I'd leave on a Tuesday morning, I wouldn't see them again until the following Sunday. So
wow, that's really rough.
Yeah. There was when we were all trying to figure out what was happening, like early on, I think there was about a 6 week window where I'm like, well, I think this was March or April, probably April 2020, when we're all still trying to navigate and work out what it meant and how we're going to, try and live with it and stuff, we were able to be open, but I was having interactions with 100 people a day with just handing their takeaway orders. I'm like, well, there's probably the safer option is for me probably not to go home, especially over the weekend and stuff like that, if I've had exposure to someone. So there was probably a 6-week window there that even Karina and the kids would come and just get takeaway themselves and would say hello to each other across the table with the same sort of interaction as that I'd have with customers. So there was a lot of challenges definitely over the last couple of years. We did make it through proudly without taking a single dollar from any JobKeeper or anything like that. As far as my staff at the beginning, one was on a student visa and one was on a bridging visa, so there was no government assistance, as you know very, very well with all your amazing work that you've done for our visa holders and stuff like that over the last 2 years. And we just stayed open. And we kept grinding so I could keep them employed and keep food on their tables and keep their mortgages paid, and then we just kept going. So we never saw the dip that you needed to qualify for any rebates or any subsidies or anything like that. But it took a hell of a lot more work to just keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what a tale, Clinton. It's just so heartbreaking to think of the family coming and getting burgers from you across the table. It's just must have been so depleting, like emotionally for all of you. But I mean, full credit to you for keeping those people employed and for bringing joy with burgers. I mean, we got them a few times for treats during homeschooling, and it definitely made my family happy to have those, such beautifully cooked and thoughtful burgers and chips and shakes. It's really appreciate that you did that, but can also really hear the toll that it took. So what are you guys going to do, Clinton? What is the plan?
Just back on what you touched on there, just really quickly, there is a very constant and common theme that I've had in everyone's messaging and thanks over the period of us closing is we wouldn't have got down through lockdown without you, as far as we very much had that local, and we were that only thing or little glimpse of normality that if you've been getting burgers from us every Friday night, you could still get your burger on a Friday night. And we were the only thing that wasn't ripped out from underneath people's feet, as far as they had that one little bit of normality in their week that they could still look forward to week in and week out throughout the lockdowns and stuff like that. And they're like, it's what bonded us together. We would sit down and would have our Tuckshop, or would all be counting down till it was Friday to sit down and have that one little bit of normality that, throughout these difficult times.
Oh, I can so relate.
Yeah. But the direction that we're in now is been lucky that our sauces that we have been making since day one. I've been bottling the tomato sauce for probably about 7 or so years already. Over the last 2 years has definitely gained a lot more traction. And our smoked jalapeno hot sauce as well, that has been a mainstay on the menu, but only on our secret menu item, which was the bully burger, which was, I'm a chili fiend, so I'm eating chili probably 2-3 times a day. our secret burger was the house-made smoked jalapeno hot sauce, jalapeno, sriracha, beef, cheese, and bacon. So we've been bottling that smoked jalapeno hot sauce as well for probably about 6-7 years, but making it from the early days. And coming in the next couple of weeks, we've been doing it through the shop over the last month or so, is our Tuckshop sauce, which I finally refined the recipe and made it shelf stable through using a house-made vegan mayonnaise instead of an egg-based mayonnaise. So it's now shelf stable and vegan. So you'll still be able to get a taste of Tuckshop, just in a different way. Yeah.
And what about Karina's side of things? What's the plan there?
So Karina's side of things is the ice cream. So we've sort of brought some life back into the Sunday school brand. We did have ice creamery a few doors down from Tuckshop for about 2 years. But timing, location and stuff like that, and again, putting those extra demands on an already overworked owner in myself, as far as I'm very, very hands-on, and I was wanting to be in the ice creamery to be able to really portray the passion and everything behind the products as well, giving my full Attica spiels to everyone on every flavour as they came in. Was possibly a little bit overwhelming for some people who were just looking to come in and just have a scoop of chocolate ice cream and yeah.
I loved it, I have to say. And yeah, extraordinary ice creams.
And again, the demands of Tuckshop sort of pulled me back here, and then the thing that had to go was the ice creamery.
Yeah.
It couldn't justify having it staffed with a couple of staff members at the time. So it was like, well, why am I down there when I really need to be back in Tuckshop? So we were able to get out of that lease, and a friend of ours, Zeph, with his amazing bagels from the city, took on the space. And yeah, we now have Five and Dime in there. But as far as Karina's ice cream is going to probably be stocked there. We are in Morning Market, just the Fitzroy one at this stage, as is limited for space at their Paran store. And we've also just started this week, we are at Stan's Deli as well in Melbourne, who does a amazing little sandwich place up in Melbourne that, yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, I mean, it's so great to know that those brands are going to live on and that people can still access some of the great Tuckshop and Sunday school flavors and just, careful, thoughtful products. I know it's only been a couple of weeks, or hang on, it's only been like a week, right, since you closed, but can you get a sense of what this new stage of life is going to feel like?
Yes. So I've been home every night this week, which has been amazing. Sort of became reality probably on Wednesday or even Thursday last night, where I turned to the kids, or I turned to Hendrix, who'd been hassling me for years. He's like, because we had been talking about it, and we're very open with the kids. They're very much a part of our journey, and as much of a part of the shop. So we're very open with them. And Hendrix had been asking for, Daddy, when are you going to become just a sauce delivery business? Like, when are you going to, yeah. And on Wednesday night, when I was tucking him into bed, which I normally wouldn't see them for 5 nights, I was like, Hendrix, it's happened. I delivered sauces today, and here I am. I'm home. Like, yeah. and that was a nice moment we shared together.
Oh, I'm gonna
And
cry.
we've already put on put on the calendar that we're going camping next weekend. So Hendrix and I are going to go off camping. Through speaking with our amazing regulars as well. One of the most thoughtful gifts over the last few weeks was one of our amazing customers turned up with a blue tackle box and a fishing rod with ribbons on them and said, "This is for you and your son to go fishing." So,
Oh my God, people are so beautiful.
yeah, that one broke me. That's for sure. That was instant tears.
I mean, I know it's all super fresh, but how would you reflect on it, Clinton? Like, obviously, there's so many rewards, but so many like poignant difficulties with running the kind of business that you did. I mean, would you know, are you glad you did it? Would you advise other people to give such a business a go?
Of course, yeah. It's definitely rewarding. It's definitely like being your own boss is rewarding. Obviously, it is a very strenuous on family life and stuff like that. It's just a matter of creating that balance. I've had so many friends that they're like, oh, I just need to have a Monday to Friday operation that's open, closes at 2:30 in the afternoon or something like that, whether we're cafe life or the new craze of the sandwich shops and stuff like that. Those hours definitely lend a lot better to having a life and being able to do it. It's when we've been blessed that we did create a 5-day-a-week operation. So we were able to have that family Sunday. We tried to create as much balance as we could. Of course, there was stages over the last 8 years that I've had a very solid team and I was able to go home on a Wednesday night or on a Thursday or something like that and have dinner with the family. But then the strains of over the last 2 years, and there's no staff left in the pool for hospitality. Every single hospitality venue is looking for one or 5 staff members at the moment, and they're not there. Hopefully, with borders starting to reopen and some international travel and stuff coming back, hopefully we can get some backpackers and stuff through that fill those roles in your St Kilda and in your bars and stuff like that are now roles that have been taken from or pulled from other venues. So, yeah, I would do it again. It's been amazing for us. It has provided for us. It definitely has had its challenges and stuff like that. Has the pay packet at the end of the year justified the 80, 90 hours a week that it demands? For many of those years, possibly not. And that's another stigma that it's been hard to take, as people are going, but you're always busy, you're always selling out and stuff like that. We had that period in the first 3 years where we would sell out quite often, but there's probably a 5-year block there where we might sell out every now and then for unknown reason, everyone decided to come on that Wednesday or Thursday instead of coming on Friday. And by all means, we're only a small team, so we're maxed at the capacity of what we can produce for that day, and using all fresh products and obviously the techniques and everything that we have touched on throughout. That it's not about just pulling another bag of chips out of the freezer or that if we do run out of something, it is going to take until the following afternoon sometimes for it to be available again.
Yeah. Wow, Clinton, it's such a big story and such a big part of your life. I'm really excited for your family about, the fishing and the camping and the tucking in the evenings, but also, these great businesses that you're going to build. It's just I've been looking forward to chatting to you, and I'm so glad to have the opportunity. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I just like to thank every single one of our customers over the years, the hospitality industry. We've had amazing support, and that's been one of the truly gratifying things, is that knowing that you've got hatted chefs and stuff that come to us for a burger. So that's what has meant a lot. The likes of so many food writers like yourself, so many restaurateurs, we really feel like we've been serving a lot of the hospitality industry over the last 8 years, and that part has sort of really kept that flame going, and knowing that we're serving a consistent and reputable product that people would love and appreciate. But just the amazing support and the amount of love that we have received over the last eight years is really truly means a lot, and it is really what kept me going and kept me standing here for the 12, 14-hour days.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you've given. Just really appreciate what you've done, and definitely appreciate you sharing it with us today. Thank you so much, Clinton, for coming on to Dirty Linen for a chat.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, and thank you for the support over the years.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinenat deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.